What was that?
Video. Hey folks, Killboy here with my good friend Brian B to the A Ashby. Comes here about, what do you say, 3 or 4 times a year? Right now anyway.
Used to be.
From Birmingham, 8 to 10. Life gets in the way sometimes. From Birmingham, how long you been coming here?
Since '03.
Just hanging out on a Saturday again. It's about 3 p.m. North Carolina side. Haven't seen any police today. Of course, this is near the state line, so they don't, Tennessee doesn't come over here. So what do you think about the scene since you've been coming here since '03? Don't be shy now.
Policing my thoughts.
Put you on the spot.
I think it is one of the most enjoyable places that I've been.
It's changed though.
Oh yeah, it's changed a lot. And I guess that's one reason I still enjoy it, is because in a way I changed with it. You know, I used to do all the sporty riding and stuff, and now moved on and do other things, and the scene here has changed a little bit. There's not as much sport bike riding as there used to be, still a lot, but a lot more cruisers and touring bikes now as percentage, so just come and still enjoy the area and ride or drive the road and have a good time and hang out with good friends. It's as much fun as it ever was, in some ways more fun.
Yeah, we still hang out and play and do things during the off times.
Last night when I first started coming here. I remember the first time I came, you know, it was incredible because I'd never been on a road like it before. And the more I came, the more it became like my second home. I mean, I've ridden this road more than any road in Birmingham. But it's hard to go by. You know, I miss the sport bike riding. But my comment last night was I come less, well maybe not less, for the road, but I come as much now for the friends that just relax and have fun and do things other than just ripping it up on a sport bike, you know. You get much more enjoyment out of that.
Page. From PJ's Parts. Yeah, I mean, there's always hanging out there's not as many people, it seems like, hanging out on the sides of the road or whatever. There's a few people spectating. There's a lot of good places to hang out and watch the scene go by, but there's a lot more people now, it seems like, at the ends, you know, hanging out at the store and hanging out at the overlook, and not really so much spectating going on in the middle of the gap and then the turns on the pull-offs and everything. It's kind of different.
I think maybe that too is, over the years, a little bit of a drift away from some of the all-day hardcore sport bike riding. And I think that people tend to want to stop to see that.
Yeah.
When there's a lot of people ripping it up and down the road on a sport bike.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's not really.
And that, you know,
that stuff's not there to watch, and so there's not as many people spectating because there's not as much of a show.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it's nice to sit back and relax, just like I am here, to sit back and watch people go by, but it's not as exciting or thrilling if it's not peppered with a good bit of a good bit of 40 riding.
I was going to talk a little bit about, vehicle preparation this week, and what, some people when they plan their trips are like, what do I need to do to get my bike or car ready for this road. And there's a couple things that I think that people should check over. Of course, the primary thing being tires. It's pretty rough on your tires, and if you've got old tires, even if they've got good tread on the sides, it might not hurt to have a fresh set. For motorcycles, and then cars, same thing. I mean, you just want some good rubber there. I think the most frequent mechanical failure that we see, and it's not really that often, but it's probably the most frequent one, is the brake problem, especially on the bigger cruiser bikes. Might be using a lot of rear brake and overworking that rear brake, which isn't really designed to do that much work. It's PJ. But even in the cars and stuff too, the brake systems have a lot of demand put on them up here, so it's good to make sure your brake fluid's topped up. It's good fluid, you got good pads. One of the things I learned recently was the pad thickness plays a role in keeping the heat out of the caliper. I really hadn't ever thought about it that way, but once the pads get worn down so far, the heat tends to transfer into the caliper and then it gets into the fluid. So they have a little groove on some pads, and it's like there's a reason that's there. It's not just to make you buy more pads. It's like that's where it stops really being thermally effective, and you need to change it because the heat can transfer through it. So something to think about. The brake systems, make sure it's in good working order if you're planning a trip here. And then there's techniques too that you can use to sort of, help your brakes not overheat as much. You might need to see if he needs a rock or something over there. We got a visitor here, and he's got his bike on the kickstand. He's trying to fall over. Not like before, but. Braking techniques that apply to all vehicles that you can use to keep your brakes a little cooler. Try not to drag them, try to get on and off as as briefly as possible. Don't baby your brakes so they don't overheat. So just try to still be smooth, but brake a little late and get off them as soon as you can. Don't drag it out, and try to baby your pads because it'll cause them to actually generate more heat. Check your tire pressures, especially on the sporty bikes. Make sure it's not overinflated. I know a lot of times they suggest like 40 pounds for, general highway driving and things like that. But, when you get up here in the curvy roads, you don't want to be running that high of a pressure. So, depending on the bike, but we usually drop them down to around 30 for the sporty bikes, and it'll be different depending on touring bikes and cruiser bikes. But just make sure your tire pressures are good. They've got free air down there at the Dills Gap Resort, and it's got a gauge on it and everything. So if you don't have a gauge, you can at least use theirs. And I think that's about it this week. Next week is the big combat veterans motorcycle rally in Fontana. It's going to be supposedly ginormous, so there'll be a lot of cruisers. Check us out at killboy.com for your photos from the Dragon, and we'll see you next week.